Hi guys, welcome to another episode of MrLopezClasses.com. We are going to continue with our marine transmission course, and this is the chapter 5, inboard transmission for gas and diesel. In this particular episode, this is the episode number 3 of the chapter 5, we are going to analyze the inboard transmission for gasoline engines, and we are going to check the components of the inboard transmission. We are going to disassemble the inboard transmission, and we are going to analyze with Mr. Rodriguez what happened internally with those transmissions, and we are going to give a lot of tips and recommendations with respect to the installation and the service on those type of transmission. I hope you enjoy the video. I am here with Mr. Rodriguez, and we are going to explain inboard gasoline transmission. In this particular case, we have a straight transmission, no, Danny?
Yep.
This is a Borg-Wagner?
The Borg-Warner Velvet, it's got the Velvet drive and it's Borg-Warner.
Borg-Wagner, wonderful. Danny, I explained in previous episode, the transmission is pretty similar to the automotive transmission. In this particular case, we have a similar scenario that the scenario that you have in your car.
Absolutely.
And this is the bell housing,
It's
no?
the bell housing, this is your transmission, and this is like your differential.
The differential together, no?
Correct, yeah.
And normally the people say, no, in the bell housing you have the clutch. And I explained in previous episodes, we don't have a dedicated clutch. What happened in the bell housing inside?
Well, they normally have a flex plate, okay? And this flex plate looks like this. And what it does on an inboard, straight inboard, basically when it's starting to put in gear, it twists and these springs absorb the impact. Yeah, the momentum. What happens is if you don't absorb the momentum, you can snap the shaft.
Yeah, correct. Oh, those springs in the moment that you engage, they retract
It twists,
completely.
correct. Yeah, absolutely.
And after that return, no?
Correct.
Exactly the same like the other flex plate, no?
Yeah.
The other one?
And this one here is for an IO, okay? And this
for
one, instead
a
of
spin
having the
drive.
springs for stern drive, this one doesn't have springs. This actually has a hub.
The rubber.
It's a rubber hub.
Yeah.
So when the shaft's in here and it twists, it does the same thing. But instead of being springs, the rubber absorbs.
That piece of rubber,
Right,
no?
the rubber absorbs the.
And work the same like the
momentum.
springs.
Absolutely, same
Yeah.
thing.
This greaser is basically to help when you introduce the shaft. no?
Yeah, it's to help introduce the shaft, and also that keep it lubricated, because what happens is if you keep the drive shaft and you never pull the out drive out, it'll build up salt in there and it'll bind.
Yeah, correct. All right.
Okay.
In other words, inside of the bell housing, we only have the flex plate. That's
Correct.
it.
Only on a straight inboard.
And to refresh other previous videos, the flex plate is not a clutch, it's an absorber.
That's all it is.
It's an
an
absorber.
Just
That's
to
it.
absorb the momentum of when
The
you put
momentum.
it in gear and out of
Correct. That's correct. Okay. The motor mounts and the brackets. Those brackets are special brackets because you can install the brackets in different positions, and you can.
Yep, and you can extend them and make them longer. Well, in this case, it's probably it's already to the block, but you can make them longer. But you can mount these in different positions.
And you can extend or
And
retract
extend it,
depending
correct.
of the position.
Right, and then you have an adjustment here, so you can have it this way, whichever way you have
This
it.
is wonderful, no?
Absolutely, it makes it really easily.
Because you can replace the engine for other models.
Correct.
With the
Correct.
same transmission, no?
Correct.
With the same transmission. And we explained before, this is basically the transmission that right now we
Yep.
are going to explain, and this is the differential. It's
correct.
together, no?
It's together, and like in your cars, all the way in the back,
In the
and
back.
the transmissions in the
In front. Okay. And now we can start with the disassembly process, and we explain internally what happened.
Yeah.
Danny, in the majority of inboard transmission gas and diesel, the oil pump is located in front or in the back in some diesel engines?
It's most of the times up front.
It's
for
in
us.
front, no?
Yeah.
And internally is the typical crescent pump, no?
Yeah, just like typical crescent pump like you have in the other transmissions.
And in automatic transmission, the pump is pretty similar.
Very similar,
It's similar.
Very similar.
One important thing, right now we are going to remove the pump. Symptoms when the oil pump is working And properly.
Yeah, well, it won't shift properly. And not only that, if there's not enough lubrication, you'll start hearing some bearing noises.
And slipping, no?
And slipping, yeah.
In some cases, yeah.
Absolutely.
And the symptom is that the people apply the gear.
And nothing happens.
10 seconds, 15 seconds, and enter suddenly.
That's because they didn't probably change the oil as frequently as they should have, or there was water in the oil. It wears out the clutch inside.
This is another important question, is about the oil recommended for those transmissions.
Yeah, use whatever the manufacturer specs is.
That's it, no?
That's it. Don't use anything else. Don't try to use an aftermarket or use some automotive. Just use whatever they recommend.
Is the recommended by the manufacturer.
Correct.
No, because a friend of mine recommend that. No, it's the manufacturer. The transmissions are sophisticated equipment, no?
Yeah, and expensive too.
And expensive equipment.
The thing is all the information that they give you on the transmission was tested with their product.
Yeah.
That's why if you want to get the same results as what they have, then you would want to go with.
Correct. All right. Other important thing is I explained in other episodes. You remember is the cooling of the oil.
Absolutely. Yep.
For that reason,
one here,
another in the bottom,
and the other one in the bottom. Correct.
And enter into the oil cooler like the cooler that we have on the screen.
Correct.
That oil cooler is one of the 5 or 6 coolers that you have in the engine, no?
Absolutely.
You use the same path of raw water.
Yep, same path for raw water, and not only that, let's just say it's the same symptoms if you have water in the oil in your engine.
Exactly,
you have
the
a bad
same.
oil cooler. So it's the same.
Odor, milky, exactly the same. No?
Same scenario. The only way water can get in here is only through the oil cooler.
All right, we are going to remove the oil pump, and after that we start.
We'll start looking inside.
All right.
Okay.
Danny, some years ago, the inboard gasoline engines, the inboard propulsion system, some years ago in carbureted engines, I remember, each engine, port side or starboard side, have a different rotation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But today it's on the transmission, no?
Yeah, everything's in the transmission.
How is the process?
Well, they have a mark here that shows you. If
that's
it's pointing towards the right, there's going to be a right-hand rotation. If it's pointing towards the left, it'll be a left-hand rotation.
This one in this particular case is right side,
correct.
And this one
That'll
should be left.
side.
Oh, incredible!
And that's all. And how that works is everything's inside here. It just changes the direction.
Correct. Incredible. That's very important. For that reason, some technicians they recommend before you remove the oil pump, mark with a Sharpie.
Always mark.
Where it's located.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, Danny. That change of sense of rotation is particular for each model, or?
Well, it's you have them in transmissions like this, and you also have them in stern drives.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the stern drives in the Volvo, you can actually change the linkage that's in the drive to the other side, and you'll make it a left-hand rotation. So you still have a right-hand rotation engine, but you can have a left-hand rotation prop. Same thing with the Bravos.
Can you repeat that one for our students?
So basically, how we discussed here, how you have a left-hand and right-hand. On the Volvo, they have a linkage. If you looked at it, it was like a little triangular.
Like
one linkage, like the one on the picture.
Yeah.
And then what happens, you swap it to the other side, and it makes it counter-rotation. Just have a flip of a linkage. That's it.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And so that way you don't have to have a left-hand motor. Right-hand motors. So you have now the standard rotations.
Because basically today the majority of the engine they are right side rotation.
Yeah,
no?
most of them right-hand rotation.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Good. Excellent.
Okay.
This is the crescent that produce the pressure, no?
Absolutely.
Increase the pressure, and you have a input port and return.
And a return, correct.
Input over there and return. Of course, the input is in this area and the return in the compressed area.
Correct.
Simple, no?
Yeah.
Danny, we can order the parts, the gears for the crescent and replace the crescent pump?
Yes.
Oh, nice. It's according with
you repair as you need them.
And other important element is the seal, no?
Absolutely. The seal's important because if that seal goes bad, what happens is you'll leak oil in your engine room. So anytime you're working on any seal, you should always apply a little bit of grease. So when you're putting it on there, it doesn't cut it or
correct.
it.
For that reason, one of the most important recommendations when you remove the oil pump is clean the shaft in order to avoid destroy.
So if you look here, you see how this is. I mean, this has been here around the shop. So here, basically, you see that if you put that dry seal on there, it would actually Probably damage it.
Grease is the recommendation.
A little bit of emery cloth just to clean it.
Correct.
And then grease it.
Okay, all right. It's a simple crescent pump with the internal gears, and ready. We are going to continue with the removal process. Danny, you remember that in previous episode when we explained the automatic transmission that have a different set of planetary gears and clutch packs.
Right.
But in marine transmission, we have only one planetary set of gears and one clutch pack to activate reverse. How is that process?
Well, how this works is you have your input shaft here.
That's the input.
And then your sun gear is always your input shaft.
Correct.
Okay?
And the planets?
And the planets is going to be your output shaft.
Oh, this is the output shaft.
Right.
Yeah, when the planets are moving, the output shaft, the coupling,
right.
The output shaft is moving. Moving in one direction or other direction.
Right.
Depend of what, Danny?
Depending on the pump on the front.
The pump and the
as far as if left-hand, right-hand rotation, but if you were actually shifting it, there's a plunger that redirects the fluid to activate the clutch packs.
To activate the clutch pack. In other words, we are going to repeat. This is the planetary system.
Right.
This is the ring. This is the sun.
Right.
And those are the planets.
Correct.
The input shaft is the sun.
Is the sun.
The output
is going to be your planetary.
The planets.
Right.
Oh, perfect. And the ring is basically
you change the direction.
The direction.
Right.
If the ring is free, the transmission will be forward. If the ring is stopped,
it's going to be in
reverse. How you stop that ring, Danny?
Well, basically, when you activate the reverse lever and the plunger will move, it'll actually squeeze the clutch pack. The oil will squeeze the clutch, and if you notice, there's a stainless steel and there's a
friction.
So what happens is it stops.
In other words, when the fluid enters here at high pressure, the clutch is activated.
Correct.
The friction material with the stainless steel is together right now.
Right.
And this disc is stopped.
And this is where the oil comes in from.
And the oil is coming here and returning on top. Oh, nice. Right. That's wonderful. Okay. Simple. Forward.
It's free. The ring's free.
And reverse when the ring is stopped. And the ring is stopped with those clutch pack.
Right.
Perfect. It's a little different than the other transmission that they use to stop the ring, the band.
Yeah, no? on the diesels they use some of the transmissions.
They use that one. But in automotive also, no?
Yeah, in automotive they use more of the band.
And the band open or close with a solenoid.
Correct.
And this is the solenoid that when you select reverse, you close the band.
Correct.
Perfect. And if you have a slip in the transmission, it's because the friction material is exactly like this.
Right.
Exactly the same.
It's worn out.
And for that reason, the color of the oil become brown is because that color, no?
It's because of the material.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, that's why it's important when you do your services on the engine, you should also always check your transmission at the same time.
Yeah.
Because the transmission is just as equally as important as your engine. Because without the transmission, you're not going to go anywhere. Without your engine, you're not going to go anywhere. So when you do your services, you should check the oil, make sure it's good, and make sure there's an oil cooler that keeps this cool down. So you want to make sure there's no water in the oil. So just all it takes is 1 second to check the oil.
Exactly.
And you smell it too. It's not just look at it. Smell it. You smell if it's burnt.
Danny, I love the efficiency of those transmissions, no?
Yeah.
In other words, the shaft of the input, the output shaft, and the rings, all of those converge in one shaft because the shafts are hollow.
Right.
No,
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
It's nice.
And other important thing, in manual transmission, you have cars with a manual transmission?
Yeah, you do. Stick shift.
Exactly. Those transmissions, they engage or not depending on the friction disc, no?
Correct.
according with the clutch.
Oh, the clutch, right.
Look at the friction discs in this transmission.
This one's a little tiny one.
It's nothing, no?
Nothing, right.
Danny, this one should be replaced each time that you disassembly,
well,
no?
if you let's say you were buying a boat and it had a transmission, if you took a fluid sample, you can see if this is.
If you have copper.
You have copper in it.
The sample of the oil.
Sample of the oil is really important.
Is the rule, no?
Absolutely.
No, some people say, no, this is exclusive for diesel. No. Any type of engine, you can take the sample, no?
Absolutely.
I visit a dealer of Pantropic some days ago, and they have a laboratory for the public. And they attend, the only that they need is the serial number of the engine, the model, and what type of oil you use over there. And they analyze the sample.
Oh, nice.
Incredible, no?
Yes,
That's
nice.
What, $45 or $50?
Yeah, it's worth
nothing.
it.
Okay, this is the life of the transmission,
Right
no?
there, that little disc.
A little disc is a copper disc, and basically this is the truss, no?
Correct.
All right, Danny, this is the transmission.
This is a simple system.
Okay, we can refresh to our students about the body of valves, no?
Right.
What happened internally, Danny?
Well, basically it has a plunger in it. So as you know, as the engine's running, it has about 40 psi of pressure, and so as soon as you move this, the plunger is going to redirect the fluid to whichever direction you're going to go. If you're going to go in forward and reverse, it redirects the fluid, and the fluid will come in through here.
Okay. It's basically a plunger like we explained in other episodes, and the fluid goes in one direction or other one, depending where it's located.
Correct.
That's simple, no?
Correct.
The servo valve with the solenoids for forward and reverse that you have on the screen right now is exactly the same like this servo valve. This is a servo valve with 3 positions. One position in the middle for neutral. This is the oil pump or PTO. The oil enter over there in the neutral position and return and go into the reservoir. This is the neutral position. If this servo valve is located, if this rectangle is located in this position, the fluid enter over there, enter into the clutch pack, activate this clutch pack, and forward is activated. This is the output shaft, and the transmission is spinning in one direction. If this servo valve is located this rectangle in the middle, the fluid goes over there, activate this clutch pack, and this gear is engaged with this, and the transmission is moved in reverse in the opposite directions. What is the function of the servo valves? The function of the servo valve is send the fluid in one direction for reverse, or send the fluid in the other direction for forward. How internally is moved the position? Because I have a solenoid for forward. And how the solenoid is activated? When I select in the control forward and I send the signal, you remember the signal in between 85 and 86 to the solenoid. This solenoid is activated for forward. If I move it back, I send the signal for the other solenoid. This is in case that the control is electronic. When the control is manual, it's a cable. I have the shift lever here, and the cable is connected over there, and the cable is connected with forward and reverse, and this element move this position or this position in the solenoid control valve. In that case, I don't have solenoids, and I have in the other side the neutral safety switch with 3 positions. The neutral safety switch and the handle if it's mechanical. If it's electronic, I have 2 solenoids in both sides, like the picture that I have on the screen. This is the function of the servo valve or servo actuator. Receive the fluid and allow that the fluid goes in one direction for the clutch pack of reverse, or goes in the other direction for the clutch pack of forward. This is the function of the servo solenoid. We have the neutral safety switch here.
Yep.
And we have the oil temperature switch.
Right.
Oil temperature switch here.
Absolutely.
And neutral safety switch over there.
Yeah, I'm going to make a comment on this on the neutral safety switch, because if you really looked at it, it's like 2 little balls
Correct.
in there, and what happens is if you don't have it completely in neutral, it won't
Correct.
engage.
And you know, Danny, that in the majority of the engines, that neutral safety switch interrupt the yellow-red cable for the start motor.
Yellow red stripe.
Correct.
That's why you don't start it in gear.
Correct.
You hurt someone.
Correct. That's very simple. Okay. Temperature, oil temperature, neutral safety switch, and this valve is to check pressure.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, they just come.
Yeah, you remove that one and you check the pressure with the gauge, no?
Yeah, there's a pressure.
Okay, the dipstick over there.
Yep.
And that's it.
And that's how you check the oil. What I like to do is when I do check the transmissions, I like to get a white oil absorbent rag and just kind of wipe it so you can see if there's any metal flakes.
Yeah.
You know, because just by looking at it, you're really not gonna tell. But I'll put any transmission, even on the lower units or stern drives, I'll put it on the just to see if there's a lot. I mean, there's gonna always be a little bit, but you just don't want to see excessive amount.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Danny, all the transmission they have on the plate the gear ratio. In this particular case, this is 1.52.
Right.
1.52 to 1.
Right.
Where is the gear ratio here?
Well, the gear ratio is going to be from the planetary. I mean, from the sun gear to the ring.
To the ring.
Yeah.
Is the ratio in between this and this?
Right.
In this particular case, the ratio between this and this is 1.6 to 1.
Right.
That's perfect. And what about the planets?
Planet doesn't affect it in any way.
Only
when you put it in.
Only the sense of rotation.
Only sense of rotation.
Correct.
It's only sense of rotation.
That's wonderful. The gear ratio is in between this and this. Okay.
Right.
Perfect. Okay. But we have the gear ratio here on the planets, and some transmission they have another extra multiplier.
Right.
Multiplier in the differential.
Correct.
On the differential. In the differential, they multiply the output torque more or less. Okay, that's perfect. This is
a simple system.
Simple system. In this particular case, is a straight transmission.
Straight transmission.
The other one, the V drive, is basically the accommodation of the gears.
Right.
No?
Yeah. It's just basically the gear. It's same principle. It's just you're redirecting the shaft
angle,
in it.
Correct.
Instead of being a straight shaft, the shaft's going the opposite. The motor points straight to the back of it.
Okay, and the V drive transmissions are used in case that you have a little room, no?
Right, and usually the big boat cabin cruisers, they want all that cabin space, and they'll put a V drive
Correct.
in it, so that way the prop stays towards the back of the boat.
Correct.
You don't have to go directly through the middle, and the motor stays in the back as well.
In my time of mechanic, I remember that a line and a straight engine with a straight transmission like this is simple. It's not complicated.
Right.
But a line, a V drive.
Everything with a V drive. Usually the V drive for a guy my size is hard to get into because you're gonna squeeze and go to the front of the engine, which is really the back of the engine.
Correct.
You know.
Correct.
So it makes it a little bit more difficult. Yeah. V drives. I'm not a big fan of V drives.
Correct. But in general, the transmission is the same. The gear ratio is the same.
It's the same.
Correct.
It's just the output shafts coming in a different direction. That's all.
Correct.
This is straight, and the other one's a V drive.
I explained to our student in a previous episode that change the gear ratio is not simple. Normally, I recommend check the manual and check the manufacture of the hull of the boat.
Right.
Because if you change the gear ratio with the same propeller, probably you affect the performance of the engine.
Absolutely. Everybody has to understand everything that's being built is built to a standard.
For engineers.
For engineers, that's where so the performance they get, that's what they get with that.
Correct.
You modify it, and what people don't understand is when you start doing modifications, you automatically assume as the manufacturer.
Correct.
Because
And it's your responsibility.
It's your responsibility. So if you're a technician, you can put whatever gear ratio in and you damage the guy's boat, you're the one to be responsible for.
Correct.
Just stick to unless you're going to high performance, and you're doing high performance is different, because then you have a different set of engineerings. But as far as in a regular cruising boat or a regular standard boat, don't change anything. Keep everything the way it's supposed to be.
And yes, because I can increase the gear ratio for 2.5 to 1, but that propeller is the diameter of the shaft is good for this torque.
Yeah,
probably that shaft is broken.
Well, as people don't realize, when they want to change to diesel, they may sometimes have to change the shafts.
Correct.
Because there's too much torque.
You remember shafts cut like with a blade, no?
And that's the problem. You as a technician have to understand that. So when you explain it to the customer was like, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that," but in reality, he can only do so much because you as a technician assumes the reliability.
Correct. That's critical, my friend.
You are the doctor of the boat, so they're going by, and you know it's wrong and you do it, just as guilty as
Correct. That's
not
correct.
knowing.
That's critical.
People don't understand that. You have to. Lawyers love to look for little loopholes, and you can't give loopholes. That's why in my shop, this is the way it is. You want to do it a different way, then you take it somewhere else.
That boat, that hull, was designed for that ratio.
Exactly.
That's
Now,
it.
you want a high performance, then buy a high performance boat.
Yeah.
Don't make your little boat into a high performance boat.
In other episodes of the conversion of gas or diesel inboard engines into hybrid boats,
Right.
I said, okay, my friend, you can replace this gasoline engine for an electric motor, but be careful with the output torque of the new electric motor.
Right.
Should be pretty similar to the output torque produced for the original gas or diesel engine. If not, the rest of the system is affected.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is because the people think, no, I need think in the horsepower. No, it's not the horsepower. It's how much is the torque produced. Danny, we are going to reassembly. We have the planets over there, and we are going to introduce the rest of the planetary system, and after that the close pack.
Correct.
Okay, what is the first
So the
step?
first thing is you're gonna have to line the sun gear
And the washer
and,
with
and
grease,
the washer
no?
with grease. Correct. So that way it doesn't fall.
Exactly.
That's the main reason, so it doesn't fall.
All right,
So
and
then you
carefully.
put it in carefully.
Perfect.
And
And
it
right
goes
now we are ready. One friction material, and the friction engage here
Right.
with those teeth. And this one, Danny,
That's gonna line up to the pins.
on the pins. Okay, pins and pins.
And
Once
then
again, another impregnate with
Oil.
oil, especially
Transmission oil.
oil. All right, and after that,
Another ring.
for the pins. And once again, the other friction material
with oil.
with oil. Perfect. And now the compression ring. The compression ring is a stainless steel flange
Yep. And it also has to line up with the pins.
with the pins. All right. And now it's ready to compress with the housing of the pump.
Okay.
Okay.
So now the
And
housing of the
we added a lot of grease. A lot of grease over there. A lot of grease. And right now ready to install the case of the pump.
point.
12 point, no?
12 point.
12 points, those bolts. Use the appropriate socket. If you use an improperly socket, Danny,
Oh, you're gonna
the
strip it out.
transmission in garbage.
Yeah.
The key.
keyway.
The key is here. It's here, the key.
Keyway.
Right, the key is
So-
over there.
So everybody can see the keyway. That's where the keyway goes.
All right.
Okay, and then basically the little bronze hammer. Just tap on it.
A little bronze hammer over there. Grease.
Okay.
Grease.
Grease.
A little grease.
You should always grease everything. Everything is definitely better with grease.
Ready. And now.
So you should explain to them why you tap it like that. I think a lot of people make mistakes. So when you're tapping like that, you know, when you're going around smoothly instead of just bam,
No,
bam,
no.
you don't want to do that. You always want to go around anything that you're installing that you have to use a hammer. You just slightly tap on it.
And bronze or
And
plastic
bronze.
or
Yeah.
plastic. I prefer bronze in
Bronze
this
is better.
particular case because you don't damage that hard steel. This is bronze. It's a soft metal, and but it's soft. It's only to introduce. That's it.
That's it. And by doing those little hits, it just goes down evenly.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct. And
All right,
now
so
the
now
top
the-
housing. Grease.
Yeah.
Normally I added grease
And grease on that seal.
on the
So
seal.
that's a good idea to show how that seal gets wiped out when you don't
Oh
put
yeah,
grease.
yeah.
Here, you know what? Let me show you guys real quick. This is what happens when you don't put grease on it. You see how the damage right there? That's why it's important to put grease. Imagine doing all this work and you don't put grease on it and you damage that seal. Now you gotta replace the seal, and that comes in the seal kit.
No,
Comes in
exactly.
the seal kit, but it's more work that you don't need. Okay. All right, so we're
Alright.
ready to.
Once again, on the shaft, seal,
All right.
grease.
Put some grease around here.
Grease is the secret.